The tagline for this video is going to be two twins take a dump on a movie or something gross like that.
Two guys, one movie. Disgusting.
First off, that's disgusting, and I'm disgusted in myself for even having set up that joke. Anyway, welcome to Talk About Tatooine. No, I forgot my name. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
We're twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink. I'm getting there. And settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
What a doozy. Welcome to episode 41, everybody. Today's recording date is September 1st, and this episode will be released on September 4th. It'll be released on 9/4/2013. Today we're going to be discussing the absolute on-fire, steaming dumpster fire that was The Flash. So buckle up. If you haven't watched it or not, we're going to spoil it, because can you spoil something that's already spoiled? I don't know.
No, I believe this is outside of the like the ceasefire of spoilers, whatever you want to call it. It's outside of the statute of limitations. It is now released on a platform.
The Geneva Convention no longer applies.
I mean, we will be polite. So if you haven't seen it, I mean, maybe don't watch this video until after you've watched it. It is on Max, formerly known as HBO Max. Now it's just Max, which I believe is the son of Goofy. I think that's where that name comes from.
Let's talk about something fun, though, before we get into The Flash and hopefully not ruin too much of our positive streak. I want to know what you've been working on as far as your hobby work.
Dude, I have finally started working on hobby stuff since moving into the new house, as I guess sort of like a housewarming present. One of my buddies who was helping me move, he's also the same guy who absolutely kicks the crap out of me in most of our Warhammer games. He was like, oh, by the way, I got you a present. And so I am working on Mr. Johnson himself, the Lion of Caliban, Lionel Johnson. He's a pretty chunky space marine. Dude, this is like one of the hardest builds I've done so far, because there's so many different pieces. I mean, naturally, he's the supreme commander of my army, for my Dark Angels army. So the attention to detail that Games Workshop put into this is really quite astounding. There are very few mold lines because of how many like different pieces they cut into everything. So instead of like mold lines being all the way down the back middle of the cape, they are on the sides of the cape, which are really easy to clean up. There's so much detail that I'm having to separate him into multiple parts, change my workflow so that I can paint him and then finish assembly, which is not usually what I do. But I'm looking forward to the end result. I did post a short on our YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram saying, hey, the first person who gets this gets a gold star. I have yet to award a gold star, so get on it.
I like it. Very, very excited for you to play the Lion.
I mean, it's going to kick your ass, but...
Yeah, it is. But I mean, that's not anything new for me. I'm here for the wah and the blood and the skulls.
Even if it's your own blood and skulls.
Corn does not care from whence the blood and skulls flow.
This is true.
This is true. I'm about it. I have recently pulled a Fabius Bile and have completely mutilated 5 of my orc boys. And
you didn't get the Fabius Bile model. Okay.
No, I'm not that gross.
Fabius Bile's pretty gross.
I've been listening to, I just finished Angel Exterminatus, which is a book about specifically Fulcrum and Perturabo, and that is a freaking roller coaster of a book. That is the fastest I have gone through an audiobook in a very, very long time. The audiobook's like 15 hours long, and I finished it in like a day or two.
Nice.
It's so good, but the Emperor's Children are so gross. They're so gross, and everything
freaks.
They do, everything they're doing, they're just awful. But when I say I pulled a Fabius Bile, I mean I mutilated a lot of my orc boys, and I replaced their arms and their weapons with Burnaboy attachments, because if you buy a box of Ludas, they come with the bits to be either Ludas or Burna Boys. And I was like, well, I
Nice.
want both. And so I chopped off a bunch of the arms of some boys models that I had,
That's
glued
perfect.
these on, and I'm like, I have Burna Boys now. So I have some new models that I'm going to be working on, and I'm really excited to run them out of the trucks because they can shoot out of the open topped vehicles. And I have orc models now that always hit. So
that is good for you.
I'm planning on getting a lot of Burna Boys, and I'm just gonna tear the field up with fire. It's gonna be insane. So, because my orc was have not gone so well, so I'm trying to fix that. So, let's hit our second opener question really quick. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to throw in here is both of us are native Seattleites or from the surrounding Seattle area. That's the closest metropolitan area that we both grew up in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a favorite Seattle attraction. If you guys are ever in the area, check these places out. They're a lot of fun. They'll probably also be in like the top 10 if you Google search it. I'm not going to say the gum wall because I think the gum wall is disgusting.
It's not that great.
I walk through that alley and I'm like, oh, Lord, no, don't touch anything.
Yeah,
it's
pretty gross.
Nasty. Some things I did enjoy. The Ferris wheel, really, really fun. I haven't actually been on the Space Needle. I'm sure that's probably even more fun. But I would also say the aquarium and T-Mobile Stadium, those are all relatively cheap things you can do and will give you quite a few hours of enjoyment. So
100%. I have been on the Space Needle. It's pretty freaking neat. It is super cool to see everything from the top there. I think there's like a restaurant or bar or something at the top. I have not been to that because I am not made of money.
It's very expensive. It's very
expensive.
Cheap.
So I'm not doing that. But T-Mobile Stadium is usually the thing that brings me into Seattle the most. If you guys don't know, T-Mobile Stadium is the place where the Mariners play out of. And the Mariners are doing super well in the AL West right now. And we're hoping that they make it all the way this year. So
they just had their winningest month of baseball this last August with 21 wins.
Wow. Good for them. Way to go, boys. We're super proud of you guys.
So, oh my gosh, they're doing so good.
So super excited about that. So with that, we will go into the main body of our episode here, guys. We just want to throw out a huge thank you to our patrons. Right now, Mike May and Isaac Young are our top patrons. Thank you guys so much for giving us the support. We're super excited for that. Just keep in mind that just for $5 a month, you guys can support us here over at Talk About Tatooine so we can get more awesome things done like giveaways, game servers, and high quality content. Thank you guys all again for so much from the bottom of our hearts. And with that, let's get into the show. What we're talking about today is just a classic movie review, guys. We are talking about the most recent iteration of DC's The Flash. Andrew, go ahead and start us off with your rating 1 out of 10.
I should preface a little bit. I don't know how bad a movie would have to be for me to give it a 1. Maybe just a 2-hour movie of someone sitting on the toilet would be a 1. So I gave The Flash 3. I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's probably one of the worst movies I've seen that wasn't also being like, we're so bad it's funny. I found this film really annoying. And when I went to rewatch it to write some more notes I had for this review, I found myself just wanting to skip different parts because I'm like, I remember what's going to happen in this scene, and I just don't care. Everything from the action, the actual fighting, which is a huge part of superhero movies. It's an action movie. Was bad. The acting was not great. The dialogue is not great. And even just the simple storyline, because we're not kidding anyone here. Comic book movies aren't always super deep. They can be. They're usually not, but they can be. It was of really low quality and really just bored me to tears. The CGI was unfinished. The humor was totally lame. And the antagonist twist was uninspired. I am sure crazy, insane Flash has some sort of roots in the comics. But as a DC lay person, I had nothing really to grab onto with this movie. It was very unclear why Barry was going into It also was very unclear why Barry going into the past did some of the things he did or happened in that alternate timeline. It didn't really make a lot of sense. I'm going to go over some of those things later in the episode, but I was thoroughly unimpressed.
So I did give this a 1. This is the worst movie I have seen to date. I cannot think of a movie off the top of my head that wasn't specifically poorly written to like be funny, right? If you watch movies like Napoleon Dynamite, it's bad on purpose and it's bad to be funny. This was just so bad. It was so cheesy. There's so many things they could have done to make this better. Can we just talk about how the entire movie is just a reused script of other DC movies? Like actually reused the script. Like Zod is the bad guy. They're like, guess what? You already did that. That's not new to anybody. And yet it takes up the entirety of the plot line for the apparent bad guy is General Zod, which he's not. He's not the bad guy. Barry is the bad guy because Barry's the reason everything is like this.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's watched most of the CW's version of The Flash, the TV series, this Barry is not lovable. Ezra Miller's Flash is not lovable. He's awkward to the point where he's actually hard to watch. He's not funny. He just is generally annoying to watch and listen to. And it hurt the entire time. My wife was watching, or not watching, she was reading the entire time. And several times she looked up from her book to look over to me and say, wow, that was so awful. And then continue reading. Like, just horrible. And we both watched this together. So it was just really, really bad. And the main bad guy, or the surprise twist, I think you had kind of called it, was Savitar, which you only know who that is if you either A, deduced it from watching the TV series because you realized that future Barry is Savitar and he kind of like looks sort of the same, or you got it from the comics. Flash's character specifically asks him, who are you? And he never answers. It is such a blatant like middle finger to the audience because if you're a DC layperson, you have no idea who this character is. He's just future Barry at that point. But saying like,
I didn't know he had a name.
That's Savitar. Like he's supposed to be the god of speed, but instead it's washed up future Barry Allen, who's still working on the same problem, roughly 1,000 years of time in the future, or however many attempts he has tried to do this. So
awkward.
Yeah, so the entire storyline, I'm like, dude, this sucks. Also, we've seen this storyline play out in the Flash TV series already. Like, he tries to go back and save his mom, and it messes everything up, and they realize, oh, we shouldn't have done that, and they go back and they try to put everything back together. And which is exactly what they did to reset the DC universe. And this is the horrible start to the new DC revamp. This is supposed to be the springboard that their entire new timeline or multiverse takes place in. And I feel genuinely bad for DC because this might be the start of the death of the DC MC or the DC MCU, the DC cinematic CU, the DCCU. I don't like that, but
you can just call it the Dick U because that's kind of what they're trying to do.
So, and this might be the death of that. And it was just, I don't know who approved this. I don't know who watched this. I felt like the actors should have said something like, hey guys, I just did my lines exactly how you wanted. You guys know this is bad, right? Like, no, I feel like nobody spoke up during the time of this film, like of making this film, and nobody caught how truly bad it was. Like the opening hospital scene, it was so bad. Like the animation was poor. It was cheesy. The babies had a real uncanny valley going. Like it was really weird to watch.
It's like, hey Flash, those babies are not real. You don't have to catch them.
Oh my gosh. And just, the fact that and like the humor they tried to put in that, I'm like, dude, you put a baby in a microwave. Like that's not funny. That's like borderline war crimes. What are you doing? Like just the whole time. And there's a continuity issue with that as well. So we know that if the Flash moves somebody, guess what? They vomit, right? It happens
Yeah.
later in the movie. So
Yep.
he theoretically whiplashed all those babies around. He probably killed them, every single one of them.
100%.
Like babies can't move like that.
Because even him moving them at such a slow rate, we could actually pretty accurately determine how fast they're going based on gravity, because we know how fast people accelerate due to gravity, and just him moving them super slowly. Like he's moving at what, 1,000 times faster. So this movement from here to here, you can't really see if you're listening. I'm so sorry. I'm just sort of just barely moving my hands. Is multiplied by 1,000 times. And that sort of acceleration doesn't just like give you whiplash, it liquefies your organs. It kills people.
Yeah, so it's just the whole thing. I'm like, man, that did not go well. Like, you done effed up, Ron.
Yeah, it's like that old comic where like Superman swoops in to like save somebody at the very last moment from hitting the ground, and because of such the insane abrupt stop in momentum, that Lois Lane just like breaks every bone in her body, kind of thing.
R.I.P. Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, just totally Gwen Stacy's in Superman's arms. And
one of my favorite
honestly
characters.
If Superman
Andrew
held
Garfield's
his
Spider-Man, yeah.
If Superman held someone out and like tried to catch them like that, I wouldn't be surprised if his arms were almost like blades at that moment and would just like cut somebody into 3 pieces.
Oh, that's awful.
This is the sort of digression we're here for. We are going to try to be a little positive.
Andrew's going to try to be a little positive.
Put a little positive charge on this situation, and we're going to talk about our favorite moments from the movie.
So I have gone on record and I have said that my notes for this is literally time travel sucks and always has. However, I really liked Supergirl as a character in this. I thought like the whole Russian prisoner was a really, really good angle. Like the fact that they kept her in a red sun prison cell was super cool and a really, really neat detail. I did think they spent a little bit too much time in her just like murdering Russians. I felt like that could have been done a lot quicker. I felt like I spent way too much time on that. But I really liked Supergirl's character. But other than that, time travel sucks and always has and is a poor plot device.
Yeah. I also really do like Kara Zor-El. She's really awesome. Her character design in this movie, I think, was really good. She's not just like the bimbo version of Superman. And she does a really good job as her character. And I'm not really thrilled what they did with her in the movie, because I'm like, we're not going to get to, I mean, maybe she will come back in future movies. I hope she does. I really liked her. Especially since Henry Cavill is not reprising his role.
Correct. He's going to be taking over the Warhammer franchise, so he does not have time for the likes of the now dying DC universe. So,
neither of us have seen Blue Beetle, so
that's true.
We don't really know it's dying. But
I'm excited to see that. But I am hopeful for Supergirl's continued existence, because she immediately enters the scene with trauma that needs to be dealt with because she failed her mission. Like Superman's dead in this timeline. And that is a big deal. So I'm actually excited for them to play that out and kind of see how that affects her character. Hopefully they bring her back. I would be really excited to see Supergirl a little bit more.
I also really did like the Nick Cage cameo. I mean, all of the Superman and Batman cameos were kind of cool, but the Nick Cage one I thought was the coolest, because he never actually was Superman, correct?
No.
Yeah. It was like a canceled movie project or something. If you guys know what the heck we're talking about, share in the comments and we'll update in the next video. But we're going to talk about a little bit of theories for the next episode.
or theories for the next movie, kind of
I guess
what's
that's
going to
true.
happen next.
Yes.
So honestly, as I kind of stated before, I'm not entirely sure how DC is going to recover from this. We have kind of some in real life spoilers for what's happening in the DC universe. So, for example, we know that Henry Cavill is not coming back. We saw Gal Gadot in this movie, so like we might be seeing her. I'm not entirely sure. You know, at this point, we can kind of just theorize about what heroes they're going to bring in. So, for example, I'm kind of theorizing we'll see some more interaction with the Flash. Obviously, like he has to be there. He's the one that is on the pivot point for this universe or this multiverse change. We're going to see Blue Beetle. We'll see Blue Beetle and Flash probably interact a little bit. We'll probably get if we're most likely going down the road of like, okay, so if the heroes in the main universe are no longer there because they've now had this schism in time, we're not going to see we're going to see different Batman, different Superman. We might see like those kind of adjacent characters, like, hey, we might get a Nightwing. We might get like a really cool Robin character. And so
That'd
they
be cool.
might play into these other characters. He mentioned several times in the episode, like we didn't get to see Cyborg because there wasn't the accident that I can't remember the character's name that created him in the first place. So, we'll see if there's any Titans in this movie. We'll see. I have no idea, but I would definitely theorize that they're probably going to bring in some, I don't want to say like secondary characters, but they're probably going to bring in some more of those characters that we are pretty familiar with as DC fans from like different and old cartoons, but they don't necessarily need to play the same roles for Superman, Batman, Aquaman. Like, hey, bring back who's coming back, but if not, like, be flexible. There's hundreds of superheroes to pull from, and there's
sure.
new characters for us to fall in love with. I am hopeful for the DC universe. However, I am a skeptical human being as well, and I do think this did them dirty pretty hard. So,
Yeah, I think we're outside of the age that superhero movies are going to be a guaranteed slam dunk. That goes for Marvel or DC. Marvel has not exactly been killing it lately. They've been going for quality over quantity, and we've been seeing that.
vice versa, you mean quantity over quality?
Yes.
Indeed.
Thank you.
They're making too many movies and not making them good enough, folks.
Correct. And I think that's been the mentality, is that if you put out a superhero movie, it's going to make money, which is, I think, still true. But I think the public trust in superhero movies is waning, meaning that people are going to be more skeptical. They're not going to shell out for movie tickets, which is still a huge portion of revenue. Movies do not make as much when they are out on streaming services. They just don't. Theatrical releases is where the real money is at. So if they don't get their act together, which is what The Flash was supposed to be. The Flash was supposed to be a turning point. This is, I mean, they hyped it up like that. James Gunn, or whichever Gunn is doing this thing, he's like, this is going to be a new era for the DC universe, which is true, but it's a little underwhelming.
Indeed. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Honestly, as far as like superhero movies in general, since Endgame, I've just been less and less thrilled with superhero movies since then.
I agree. I felt like Endgame was a interesting turning point where the movie quality has not quite been the same. So for example, like once Thanos was out of the picture, Kang was the next big bad in the Marvel universe, and he wasn't that big of a deal. He just wasn't.
Yeah.
Especially for somebody who had control over the multiverse. You just didn't hit the mark, man. And then somehow he ends up in the quantum realm. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing, but it just didn't seem to stick. At this point, I'm just waiting for Galactus. I'm like, get this part over with so you guys can start introducing, like, let's bring Galactus back into the picture. Let's start like killing worlds off. You got to raise the stakes again. You got to make the stakes real like Thanos did. and that's going to get people's attention. And DC needs to do something similar. They need to bring, a dark side to play. They need to bring somebody who genuinely is like, hey, I can kill your heroes, and in fact does, and poses a real threat to our heroes, the Justice League. They need to be doing that.
Let's talk about a little bit of lore. I didn't really have any lore that I was really interested in this movie. It's just, I'm like, who cares? The Flash runs fast.
The Flash runs fast.
And that's kind of it.
I felt like they did the lore in this movie a little bit dirty, because the lore is half the reason, like comic book fans and DC, Marvel, and just nerds in general, that's why we come. We want to be told a story more than just what is beyond, like, hey, there's a superhero that needs to fix a super problem. It's like, no, we want to hear the history. Like, this is why origin story films do so well, is because we want to see the lore. We want to know what's going on behind the scenes. How did our hero get to the point to where they are? We got introduced to 3 speedsters in this movie, actually quite a few more. Like, you see a lot of different speedsters, but it's really only centered around the 3. So you have the Flash, you have the alternate Flash, and then you have Future Flash, which is also aka Savitar, who they never actually name in the movie. And it actually took me a lot of figuring it out. I actually had to go into another article online to actually confirm that was Savitar, which was kind of a big bummer, because it should be in the credits. It should say, or he should have said, my name is Savitar, or my name's Barry, but I go by Savitar now. Or they should have just written it in. It would have taken 3 seconds to say, the audience now knows who they're dealing with, because his identity has changed at that point. He is filled with like Kryptonian salvage, which that's at least in the TV show, that's not the same element that he makes his suit out of. He makes his suit out of a frictionless material that's not, I don't think, specifically stated to be Kryptonian. So it's like, hey, like, if you're going to make these suits different, like, at least say the name so people know that, oh, in this universe, he has a different suit and he didn't make it himself. It's actually battlefield salvage, like, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So I felt like they did a little bit poorly on the lore, and there could have been a lot more. And they just, it was just kind of a letdown. Like, I'm like, you had, like, speedsters are really cool when they're not time traveling, in my opinion. And they just mixed it up. Like, they didn't even mention the fact that, like, the alternate Barry has different color lightning than he does. Like, they didn't mention anything about that. They didn't talk about, like, the Speed Force hardly at all. They just kind of assumed the audience knew what everything was and how it was happening, which, when you're going to time travel movies, I'm like, dude, you gotta come up with your fake rules, because no one knows, like, what's going on. Like, he stumbles into time travel in the first place. Like, there's nobody guiding him through. Like, Batman sort of does, but not really. Alfred does more of a job in that movie than the new Batman does. So it's just, I don't know. I feel like they dropped the ball on this, because they told a kind of a story that has already been told, and they didn't give us any new details or do really any lip service for even comic book fans.
Usually when we do reviews of things, we have a section where we talk about our least favorite parts, and that's just been the entire episode. But we're going to go into even more nitty gritty stuff. We're going to hopefully try to be quick. I'm actually really excited for this week's HoloNet news, because there's a lot of stuff coming up. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Just stay with us, guys.
I promise. Please. We're going to try to be really fast. Yeah. Okay. For my least favorite parts, I put so many things, and I'm going to try to, like, really get through them. All the CGI in it was pretty bad, especially the babies and the faces of the people in the time dimension. You could tell, it's like, that doesn't look remotely real. Like, it doesn't look like it's distorted. It just looks like you didn't finish rendering Henry Cavill's chest hair. Like, the babies were really bad, though. I mean, to the point where it's taking me out of the scene. Like, the whole point of CGI is to trick you into thinking you're seeing something real. This did not do that. I was like, okay, fake babies going in a fake microwave. All right.
straight uncanny valley, man. I'm like, those are not real babies. Those are demon
Yeah.
babies right there.
Yeah, they're not real babies. Just let them drop. let them plap on the pavement.
I love your second point. Please go into that.
The Flash's costume, holy bulge, Batman, so distracting. I felt like his junk was just staring at me the entire movie, and frankly, that's offensive.
I pointed that out to my wife as well. I was like, what is the first thing you notice about his costume? She was like, it could be a little less crotchy. Yeah. So
I'm being a little
good.
tongue in cheek, but cheese and crackers. Like, no wonder he's so not aerodynamic with that thing.
No wonder Iris is so interested.
Yeah. Friggin' tuck it, bro. Jeez. Even Batman, the one who like admits he's like, yes, I'm compensating. I was like, I feel like the Flash is compensating in his costume, or he just actually has. I feel so bad for the person who had to measure his costume, because that's like such a deliberate design choice. He's either actually filling that up or he's not. Okay, I don't really want to talk about his dick anymore.
Indeed.
Okay, another thing. Young Barry, super dumb. Like, he acts like a stoner all the time, but which you kind of have to assume he is, because his laugh is so annoying. I'm not even going to mimic it because it's so annoying. And I felt like I got the message. Is this how older people think young people are like? Oh, if you're happy and you grow up with great parents, you're going to turn out like a certified USDA prime. Like, you know,
yeah, he's not. Again, they did a good job at making Barry in both forms not lovable.
But like, you didn't need to. I feel like we want to like the Flash, not hate him. And I did not like alternate Flash. He was annoying, obnoxious, and he was stupid. Like, why does Barry making an alternate timeline now make him less intelligent?
Makes no sense to me.
And like, the whole theme of the movie is that like our past creates who we are, but Flash didn't have to be so awful because he had two loving parents, because that's the only variable that changed, and now he's so much worse of a person. Like, how does a dead mom make you a better person? Because that's really what they're trying to communicate, is that people are only going to have character if their character is tested by some ungodly tragedy. It's like, no, you can have character despite having a good life.
You don't need to have experienced trauma to be nice.
And it's
very odd.
And it's like, we live in a terrible world. Everyone is going to experience trauma at some point, and that's like, character is going to get forged at some point. So it doesn't really make sense that like why Barry having so much love and affection turns him into a man who doesn't know how to do his own laundry, because his parents don't come across as enabling bad parents. They seem like pretty great parents.
They do seem nice.
So it just doesn't add up. I felt like the entire story was just a worse version of Spider-Man No Way Home, which I loved that movie. Again, I'm pretty sick of the whole time travel and multiverse thing at this point. And here's my biggest issue. I promised we'd get through these fast. That was 6 points in 6 minutes, something like that, or in fewer minutes. It was very unclear why Barry going into the past created a different Batman, because Batman is older than Barry.
That is true. I haven't thought about that.
So in the timeline, okay, I'm going to try to, never mind. I'm not going to do a visual explanation. In the timeline, Batman's parents are probably already dead before Barry's mom is killed, because that's the point he goes back to. Honestly, Batman's parents are already dead probably before the Flash is even born.
So theoretically, Batman has already been set upon his story arc at this point. So why would
Yeah,
Barry's mom being alive or not impact that in any way, shape, or form?
it shouldn't. It shouldn't at all. And
Yeah,
same
very
thing
odd.
with
Now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I have not thought about that, and that now makes no sense
and the
because time
same
travel's
thing
dumb.
and the same thing with Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Superman. They're Barry's like definitely the youngest member of the Justice League. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Cyborg is younger, but like Wonder Woman, her story has already happened. Her sequel has already happened by the time this movie occurs. So, what's the deal?
Yeah, indeed.
What's the deal? Doesn't
I
make any
think
sense.
I think one of
The
the horrible things about that is people take into consideration. So a lot of this is based on what's called the butterfly effect, that if you change one thing, it
Mhm.
alters the entire reality, which doesn't make any sense. So for example, this is going to
Yeah,
sound terrible, but like if somebody moved into the neighborhood across from me, if I never know that they move into the neighborhood across from me, it actually doesn't impact my life at all and never will because it's so far removed. So take that to the even next concern where if something happens in a different city, logically, it does not affect you. Because people like to draw all these lines because they're like, oh, well, this person did this, which causes this person to do this. And then you get this out of control effect. And I'm like, that's actually not true practically. It stops at a certain point.
almost always. And the probability of cataclysmic things happening due to the butterfly effect is so low. The probability is so low that it just won't happen. It's here's the thing. In my opinion, the butterfly effect is a fun thought experiment, but it makes for a bad story. Also, the butterfly effect happens in a linear fashion, so things can only branch off in a different timeline if the uh, con- we'll say the intersection of those timelines happens before the event you're looking at. For example, Batman being played by a different character doesn't make any sense because Batman's already born.
Yep.
Like,
When they find him, he is an old man.
so Barry going back into the past has nothing to do with Batman. Like, yeah, the butterfly effect is in this case, it is a cheap excuse to rewrite everything.
It really is. I
It
felt like
feels disingenuous.
Yeah, I felt really bad for DC and how this is supposed to be their reset. I mean, I'll say it again, like they've got a lot of plot holes to fix up, and similar to The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, whatever movie we get next with The Flash is probably just going to be plot tape. It is going to be just a big old roll of flex tape, and that is it. So I would say out of like I think what really got me in this movie is it started off so poorly. Like we've said, that the hospital scene was cheesy. The Flash moves really awkwardly and ungainly. You're really not rooting for him at any point in this movie. Also, he has terrible running form. Can I just say that as somebody who like helps people run? Terrible running form. At no point would you ever see a sprinter stand on one leg to run. That makes
It
no
doesn't make a
sense.
lick of sense.
I'm like, dude, you are still human. You still, even though you have superpowers, you still need to use human mechanics. Also, when he's running, you see that he does a really hard cross with his arms. Every time he runs, he's like crossing his body, like arm is going to opposite ear. And that's really, really bad running form. When you run, you actually want your arms parallel to each other and a 90-degree bend at the elbow with a slight grip in your hands so that if you were to hold a bag of chips in your hands, you would not crush them. Now, he runs super straight. It's actually not super good to do that because you're actually holding too much tension in your arms and it takes too much tension in the upper body. You're not focusing all your energy in the right place. Also, if you are throwing your arm across your body, which I had to Google this because I couldn't remember, your arm weighs about 6% of your overall body weight, which assuming a 200-pound The Flash is about 12 pounds. So if you're throwing a 12-pound object across your body at like near light speed, guess what? You're not running in a straight line at that point. So
Yeah, your first step is going to just launch you to the side into a building.
why would they not have a running coach for this guy? Like, bring somebody in and say, hey man, like, just for like a little bit of realism, you're going to go through like a 2-hour workshop that is going to teach you running mechanics so that when you're on screen and doing this, it looks like it made sense. It looks like a bunch of Hollywood directors told him, oh yeah, this is totally how you run. And that's how he runs. And I'm just like,
bad.
I'm like, dude, you could have hired me. I could have done it. I could have been the consultant that said, hey man, like, we're going to teach you how to run and we're going to make it look like not super cheesy, because if you're going to run fast, you have to have good form. You can't just be like, oh, well, my super speed makes up for it. Well, guess what? You have super bad form. So it sucks. So
Got him.
I'm just, his stupid running stance. I'm like, why would you balance on one foot if you're planning on running a sprint from Central City to Gotham? Because he does that in like the
More
time
than
it
one
takes the
scene.
barista to like make his coffee, right? Even though they're like, oh, his barista is comically slow. And that's like, what's funny about this? No, it made everyone uncomfortable because he's like sweating the whole time. And he's like, I need food in me stat. I'm like, you're just irresponsible because you can't make your own food, man. Like, what are you doing? So it's the least efficient way of movement. That's probably my least favorite thing was his running mechanics. And that is coming from somebody who absolutely despises time travel. So learn how to run, buddy. Somebody get that man on a treadmill.
I'm so glad you like brought up the whole running form thing, because I don't have a kinesiology background, so I can be like, that looks weird. And that's as intellectual I can get into this subject. So I'm really glad you're here to really tell the people why none of that made sense. And it looked stupid.
It did.
I can say that for sure.
You look dumb, Barry. Maybe get down into a crouch, like put one of your feet in front of the other and get into a sprinter stance. Most people have even seen that on TV. So you can at least emulate that.
Because the thing is you can't push off the ground if your foot's not on the ground.
No.
I don't need an
essentially, if you're standing on one foot, you fall forward, and then with your second, or I should say, with your second foot hitting the ground for the first time, that's when you push off. And again, it's like you could make the excuse, well, he's the Flash. The time it takes his second foot to hit the ground, like you haven't even blinked. So I'm like, yeah, I guess, but he's also a speedster who tends to run into other speedsters. Make him run well. Because any other speedster could just be like, hey, man, I have better form than you do, so I run faster automatically.
Well, and that's like a huge thing of the Flash is it's like he gets this certain amount of natural talent from getting struck by lightning and getting access to the Speed Force, but a huge portion of Barry's character development is training to become even faster, and that's how he's able to do these weirder and weirder things, is because he's actually running faster than he's ever run before. And the movie didn't even do a good job at like explaining that. He basically was like, I'm upset and now I ran really fast. I don't know about you, but if there is snot running out of my nose, I'm probably not running very fast.
Yeah, not at all.
I'm a very slow man. I'm not really what you would call a runner.
That's why I put on my tag for this on Riverside. I put Nathan, the slowest speedster, because I'm
that.
dangerous only over short distances. So, yeah.
I'm dangerous if you're already within grabbing distance.
It's very true, actually. All right, let's get into some news, man. We've got some fun stuff to talk about, and I don't want to talk about the Flash anymore.
Yeah, I think we're done on the Flash for the moment. Okay, I'll read off the first one and we'll just rotate from there. Dark Tide. Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. Oh, baby. It's finally coming to console. And it is getting a new class skill tree revamp. So if you've played Dark Tide before, things are going to get a little fun. Originally, Fat Shark said that they were going to be releasing new abilities and new things as the game went out. Well, there's been a lot of hiccups, but now with the new skill tree, they're basically making up for that all at the same time. It's going to be awesome. It's going to provide a massive diversity in the way you play each four of the characters. Right now, things are a little like this character is good at this, or this character is good at this. In my opinion, the veteran is probably the most flexible of characters depending on what kind of las gun you pick. You're like, oh, this one is full auto and is good at taking out hordes, or this one does just bonkers amounts of damage and is good for killing elites. Well, the rest of the characters are kind of still only good at one thing. The Psyker Kinetic is probably the next most flexible. I don't even like playing as the Preacher, and the Ogren it's fine. I would say the Ogren's fine. But with the console release, I don't always want to play Darktide on my computer. Sometimes I want to be laying back on my couch and not in my computer chair. So being able to have this on Xbox is really fun. It's going to really bring a lot more life into the game. So I'm really excited because this is a game I love playing. And I'm excited for it to be accessible to more people because it's a little bit of a computer hog. Nathan, I'm sorry. I know your computer can't handle it.
It hurts.
So we haven't been playing on PC. I played a little bit with one of our other buddies who's got a nicer PC than I do. But it hurts when you have to spend $1,000 to play a game.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Which is why I still have an Xbox.
Indeed. And I'm hoping to get a new Xbox probably sometime this year. Hopefully on Black Friday, but we'll see. So I need to get with the times, and it's really frustrating that I can't play into the new games. So
you just need to get one by the time Space Marine 2 comes out. So
Hundo P. More 40K news. The Tyranids are getting a Codex update, which I don't know about you, but this kind of surprised me because they got so many new models. Even in the Leviathan box, they're coming out with even more models on top of that as well. We got some emissary models, which are new monster characters. At first, I thought they were Titanic, but they're not, which I was a little bummed about. I was like, I wanted Imperial Knight-sized Tyranids. I think that would have been really cool. However, they're just going to be like really, really big monsters, but they're
like tanks.
They're like tanks. So we've got some super cool new Tyranid models. The Codex is getting an update, so we'll see how these guys are going to be playing. With the new Codex coming out, I have a feeling that Tyranids are going to be A tier or potentially S tier moving into the next probably couple rounds of tournaments. So that's my thought.
We haven't seen the Codex yet. Hopefully it leaks so we can look at it. Neither of us are Tyranid players, so it's unlikely that we will buy it just to review it. That's not really what we're here for. But there's a lot of stuff coming out on Warhammer Community. We'll be reposting those articles and providing our own commentary as the new Tyranid units come out. This makes me really glad because if most of the armies get this kind of attention, 10th edition is going to be really awesome. The next Codex to come out is going to be the Space Marine Codex this winter, and they've already started releasing more Space Marine characters. We're going to be talking a lot about that on our socials, so follow that. Follow us pretty much anywhere. I am hopefully going to be upgrading my Assault Intercessors into Jump Pack Intercessors.
Oh, shut up. Let's go.
Yeah. I found some... I don't like running regular Assault Intercessors, so I found some Jump Packs that kind of look like bird wings on Etsy, and so I'm going to be doing some kit bashing with those.
That works so well with your army aesthetic.
Yeah, because I am running Dark Angels, so that works out. There's also, in Star Wars news, they have already released the new Lego sets for the E-Wing, which we haven't seen the E-Wing in 30 years.
It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute. The E-Wing was a Legends New Republic starfighter and actually made its debut on Lothal in the first episode of Ahsoka.
It was really
and
cool.
then we also get to see Shin Hattie's starfighter, which gives big World War II.
It looks like
fighter.
A P-52 Mustang. Straight
totally
up.
Does.
I was like, that's an American fighter right there.
And it looks awesome. So those are coming up. They have Lego sets in Costco for Star Wars fighters, and it's like, here's $100 worth of Legos. And I kind of look at my wife, and she like shakes her head like, no, you're not allowed to buy anything. It's almost your birthday. And then I'm like, well, I could just sneak it into the cart.
She might not see.
She
Tell her
might
to
not
go
see.
get a hot dog from the food court.
She would be so suspicious because I am not a good liar.
It is not something either of us are good at doing. So with that, we also have our next giveaway coming up as well with a new month, which is today. We're hoping to give away something in now October because we want to make sure people have time to actually enter the giveaway so people can get in there. Our giveaway is not going to be as spectacular as our last one because we ended up giving away 3 lightsabers in our last one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say the CFO said that we can't do that. Every single month. So we're actually hoping to do a Lego giveaway. So if you guys are hearing this, join our Patreon. That'll get you an entry into winning a Lego set for October. We'll release the winners. So our patrons that are already there, they're already entered, but make sure you guys enter. It supports us so we can do more giveaways. And honestly, we still have a really small Patreon base. So if you enter now, then you guys have most likely the
really
best
good.
chance at getting something really, really cool. Like the lightsabers, I really wanted one of those. I'm like, oh, those were really cool. Like Legos, I'm like, dude, my wife almost threw away literally just a bag of Legos. And I'm like, just going to have fun building with these. And
Awesome.
so it's for her therapy.
Can I come
kids,
over?
So,
I'll bring soda.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hell yeah, brother.
Go.
So
hell yeah, brother.
So super excited about Lego and everything that's coming around over there. So we're hoping to give some of those away because we love you all very much.
Yeah, we'll either be doing Lego. There's some talk about either giving away some of our new merch. We actually just launched an Etsy store, which that link will be down in the description. Or we'll be picking a Warhammer mini, but we're kind of leaning towards the Lego because Ahsoka's out right now. Star Wars is so in right now.
This is so this month.
That's so this month.
And that means
Warhammer will be later.
Yeah, that means the giveaway will happen right as the season or the series, the season finale of Ahsoka, because the last episode comes out on like October 4th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be giving out something just around that time. So
Gotcha.
The Ahsoka hype will be as high as possible, and then we'll burst a Lego from the seams. So
for sure. One last piece of news. We got to wrap this up really quick because I got to drive Sarah to the doctor. We got a Space Marine 2 gameplay reveal. Guys, this looks awesome. We might have to do like a public or a live reaction maybe over on our Twitch stream for you guys. It looks amazing.
So good.
We are really excited about this. We will be doing at least getting it day one, and we'll do our best to try to stream it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it looks real grimdark here, guys. And just a small spoiler, I hope no one's a fan of the Imperial Guard because they get trounced in every second of gameplay. So it's going to be pretty amazing.
It's rough beans.
With that, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. That is the last of our news we've got for you guys. Thank you guys for sticking out until the end. We promise on bringing you much more positivity in the future because there's actually a ton of stuff we're super excited about. Andrew, why you got to do that. If you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe because you can see Andrew do silly stuff in the outro, just like he just did. But really, guys, we love you all very much. We're very thankful for all of you guys watching. Make sure to leave your theories in the comments. So what's going to happen in DC, what you think is going to happen in Ahsoka, because that's what we talked about last episode, what you guys think is coming as far as Warhammer. We love talking about it all. Share with us pictures of your models or any hobby work that you guys are getting done. We'd love to see your Lego builds. Shoot us a picture over on Twitter or Instagram. If you guys have any questions about the podcast, shoot us an email at talkabouttatooine@gmail.com, and we would love to feature those questions on air. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button so this video will make it into the algorithm of other like-minded folk here, guys. With that, keep on running, everybody. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Close your eyes.